Hi guys, this is Robert here at Max Guitar, and this time with our honored guest Matt Schofield. Of course, one of the best blues players around on this planet right now, at least to my humble opinion. He travels the world. Every week he's somewhere else, the US, UK, Scandinavia, Holland. And we try to support him as well as we can when he visits Holland, because he can't take his amps everywhere. So yeah, but it's always a pleasure to do that. And we have some questions for him today, and I hope you will learn something from it. So Matt,
yeah, man.
Always when you play,
Yeah.
of course, it's essentially blues scales. It's
Yeah.
very simple, but I'm always amazed how you can come up with the very original phrasing that you do, because it's nobody plays like you. I mean, it sounds maybe from a distance you think it's another blues player, but if you look and if you
Yeah, I've
Listen
always tried
carefully.
to have my own. That's always been the main thing for me, actually, is having a voice on the instrument. And I like to pay, you know, a little nod to my heroes here and there.
it's inevitable, of course.
And especially at this point in the history of blues guitar, we're so, you know, the tree is so big, you know, it's not like just BB at the root, you know, it's like, so you're a big mishmash of everything. So yeah, the thing is, to me, to try and make it feel like blues, whatever you're playing, you know, and that's in the phrasing and the timing. I mean, really, it's all in the time. It's all in the, which is phrasing, but it's in the groove.
But it's also original what you do. It's, I mean, when I play blues, it's more or less a copy of what everybody else plays. You know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, that's.
Is that inspiration or is it talent? What is it?
It's difficult to know, really. I mean, what it is rather than learning exact licks or something and stock phrases, it's developing a vocabulary, I would say, so that you can communicate through the instrument, much like we're talking now. So I have my way of talking, you have your way of talking. That's what we're trying to get towards with this.
So being fluent in a language.
Yeah, exactly. It is a language.
Yeah.
Really great blues playing is speaking the language of blues.
Speaking BB King's.
Yeah, I mean, certainly for electric guitar, you know, was the very start of all the stuff that all of us do now. You know, nobody had ever. You know, it sounded like, you know, T-Bone, his influence, or one of his influences, was like the very simple blues box. Beautiful player, T-Bone, classy and great tone, but you know, then
The timing of BB King.
Yeah, but then BB comes along and goes. You know, it's a different thing, and so BB was, to me, the first one to make the guitar sing, you know, like a really
much more dynamics also.
Yeah, voice like thing. So with that vibrato like that. So so it all comes from that. So it's, you know, the very first thing I saw when I started playing, I've told this story many times, but my dad, I was just getting into it, and my dad showed me a video on VHS, as it was back then, that he just managed to capture off VH1 or something in the US. So I was over there for the summer with him, and it was B.B. King, Albert Collins, and Stevie Ray, with Stevie Ray's band playing Texas Flood. You can see it on YouTube now. I've told the story many times, but it's still, they all sounded amazing playing together, and they all sounded completely different. You put each one next to one another, you know, and that really hit me right away. It's like, well, you can't even compare them. They're just all great, but they're all such individuals that's beyond any kind of, you know, discussion about best or there was no aggressive competition. There was only it was like three guys hanging out at the bar shooting the shit, but with guitars. Do you know what I mean? So it was the passion in it and all of that. So I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, then I'd have to be able to stand next to them, you know, and sound like something else as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's been, it's been a process of 29 years now I've been playing. Be 30 years next year. So of trying to refine it down to that, you know.
Yeah.
So, like,
Well, I think you're doing a good job there.
well, I'm working on it.
Yeah, another thing that strikes me is, we mere mortal guitar players, let's say, we always try to get the right sound and right effects and right equipment. And I have the lucky coincidence that I'm a storekeeper, so I want to try everything out.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are always searching for that secret when we talk to the a customer downstairs, and he was looking, is this the right pickup or is that the right pickup? And I talked to you before when you were here before, and you're plugged into an amp without any effects, and it sounds great. So can you tell us more about that? So
yeah, well, you just basically the real secret is playing well. There's no amount of buying stuff that is going to replace playing well. And a lot of what you hear as great tone is both how somebody touches the instrument, but also their phrasing. How long they make a note, and because you can. I mean, I really try and play all my notes properly, and these strings are kind of dead from the last gig, and I'll change them before we go and jam downstairs. But first of all, I don't really plug in at home very often at all. The guitar, the experience of the guitar when not on a gig is just like this for me. But even with the dead strings, to me that kind of sounds like the same as I do plugged in.
Race car driver needs a good car, so you need good
stuff.
Well,
that's the next step. So the better that you get at making the guitar itself sound good, the more you want something. And I always use the race car analogy. The more you demand of the equipment then. So that's why I choose the things I do, because they reproduce that as best without taking anything away.
Yeah.
Do you see it? So it becomes actually like the opposite
extension
way. It's like the opposite way around. Instead of picking gear to give me a sound, I'm picking gear that doesn't take away my sound. So that takes, there's nothing more frustrating for me if it's like a backline gig and I have something that is, all farty bottom end amp and the tubes, and it won't reproduce my playing. It would be like giving a racing car driver a car with flat tires.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's.
But the thing is, I always tell people, don't look into the the crevices. Just go for a good instrument, a good amp, and then if you need some addition to that, so to let's say a delay or a wah, which you can't reproduce without them, that sound. But don't go looking for in the really details like 61 or 62 pickups.
It's not really that important.
That's not there. It's not there, that difference. And I'm always trying to get that across. And you are the living example of plugging in and sounding. Of course, this is not a €5 amp, but but still, it sounds like it should.
But we could go downstairs and pick any good Strat off the wall, and I could do the gig with it, and
you'll sound like
it'll sound 95% the same, and anyone would know any better. In fact, for me, it's more important things like the size of the frets and the setup is more important. I actually did a gig back in July in Italy. They lost my guitar on the way on the plane because they made me check it and then it didn't turn up. So I had to borrow a guitar for the gig, and it was one of the Mexican road worn Strats.
Wow.
But because it had the tall frets, so I needed the tall frets. So I was like, okay, well I can do it, but it hadn't been played in 3 years. It was all rusted, so I had 45 minutes to like do a full setup on it myself, put my strings on it, and you know what? Sounded great. It was absolutely fine. Now, would I prefer to have had my own guitar? Of course I would, but anyone else wouldn't have thought anything of it, you know.
Yeah.
So it's now luckily I did have a two-rock there, you know,
Yeah.
so that made a big difference. It would have at least I had some familiarity.
Yeah.
But you got to do it. Yeah.
So you have been working. You had your own signature amp. Now you say, and I can agree that the new line of Two Rocks, let's say since NAMM last year,
Yeah.
have been improved tremendously.
Yeah, well, definitely. Since my friend, I've been friends with Eli long before we realised he was going to be the new owner of Two Rock, and of course Mac's been there all along. He was the reason I stayed with them for so many years. So, but Eli's a good player, and he has a great ear, and so his little tweaks that he's made to things have just taken it to the next level, to the point where, you know, I love my old signature amp, and that was the best thing I'd ever had to that point. But you know, I'd still always go home and take my old Fender Super Reverb out for fun, that vintage vibe that it had. And then I remember getting the new classic reverb and doing the first tour with that, and came home, took the Super Reverb out like I always did, and I was like, I think I like the classic reverb more. So that was a big step, you know,
Yeah.
it's like he's finally nailed it. And now in the past 2-3 years, I've done gigs all over the world through every single one of the models that they make now. This is at Bloomfield right now. I did the Pier Festival in Belgium in the summer with Bloomfield, and you know, Italy was a TS1, you know, and I've done the traditional clean, and all of them. I just got a Sterling, you know, so for when there's enough. And if it's a big enough room to knock people down, you know.
Well, the thing is, I always say about the Two Rocks that they have, let's say, a lot in common.
They do, yeah.
And they either go a little bit left or right,
Yeah.
you know, with a little more overdrive with the Bloomfield.
Yeah.
But basically, you can use any of these amps. Because, again, a lot of customers are looking for the differences, but I say look for the things they have in common, and that's a great tone.
Yeah, and then they all sound, you can get them all to sound amazing. And I think some of it would be then down to application, you know, like I get to play very loud on my own gigs because that's what it, you know.
What you like.
Yeah, and that's what it takes to really get it to where it is. You know, there's a reason why all, you know, Hendrix, Stevie Ray, Eric Johnson, even B.B. King was a twin on 10, you know, his twin was all the way up. There's a reason it makes the guitar sing, you know, but say you're not in a position to do that, then I'd say get the Bloomfield, because I've got this dialed in actually on the overdrive channel, but using it to get just a bit of
Grit.
a little. That's the overdrive channel with the guitar turned down, but you can, you know, this isn't like deafeningly loud in here now. It's loud. You know, it's got a little squawk on it now that you couldn't. Now the classic reverb, it won't do that without a pedal, but I'm just straight into this thing. So, but you know, the classic is my go-to still, but that's because I can crank it. But yeah, Bloomfield or even the combo, you know, works great for people.
Okay,
So
cool.
they're all fantastic.
Oh, we're very glad to have you here every year.
Yeah, man.
We're going to talk some more about your history and your musical
Yeah.
influences, and thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me, mate. It's always a pleasure.